On this edition of Southern Newsweek, Dunedin Farewells, a legend of dance. Many cans are donated at an annual food drive. And Queenstown pupils host a car crash scenario. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Melissa Barton. A dancer described as one of Dunedin's treasures passed away. Shona Dunlop McTavish, known as New Zealand's mother of modern dance, died recently surrounded by family at the age of 99.
Still actively engaged with modern dance despite being in her late 90s, Shona Dunlop McTavish, seen here watching a Chinese dance troupe at the Dunedin Public Art Gallery in March this year. Born in Dunedin in 1920, her dancing career was the subject of two films, one being the 2009 production Wind Dancer, where she spoke of travelling to Vienna as a young teenager and studying under choreographer Gertrude Bodenwieser.
She used to stare at me through a little lorgnette and say, "Shawnee, Shawnee, richte Fuß." She would get very cross because I was always going the wrong direction.
But many of the dancers were Jewish, so to escape Nazi persecution, they left Europe to tour South America, where they were adored by the public.
Everywhere you went, they flung orchids at you. It was a wonderful time. You felt great, suddenly you were tremendous. And there would be queues of young men outside the theatre waiting to take us to supper every night.
While living in Australia, she fell in love and married missionary the Reverend John McTavish and followed him to China.
It all came together through his big heart and his love of humanity and his caring for those who were not getting a fair share of life and his readiness to fight for them no matter what. My dancing friends all thought I was mad. Marrying a missionary, going off to China, the last thing they would ever have thought I would do.
They were later reposted to South Africa, where she stood up against apartheid.
The situation was appalling. So we became part of what they call the torchbearers, which were people fighting it. For the first time, we insisted that the African and the European were to attend the same performance. And that was absolutely a no-no, And then I started teaching African children to dance. But it didn't happen that way. They taught me.
Her husband died prematurely in 1956 and she returned with her two young children to Dunedin, where she eventually established the Dunedin Dance Theatre in 1963. She later received an MBE and an honorary doctorate from Otago University and was still teaching dance well into her 90s. A public service will be held at Knox Church next Tuesday at 1 p.m, and Channel 39 will screen the hour-long documentary of her life on Tuesday night. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Presbyterian-supported Otago's biggest winter fundraiser began as the sun was coming up in Dunedin's Octagon this week. Organisers say below freezing conditions early on didn't deter Dunedinites from donating.
Gingerly navigating ice for the greater good. Scores of people, from the very young to the more senior Dunedin residents and office workers, took time out of their day and food from their pantries to donate to the annual Octagon appeal.
It's going really well. It's freezing cold down here, but the people's hearts in Dunedin are really warm, and that's what we're seeing today. We're seeing school kids, we've had preschools through already, and businesses and just the general public coming down.
It's Presbyterian Support Otago's biggest event of the year, with the organisation needing to put 20,000 items in its stores for the city's needy families.
Feels awesome. It's such a nice feeling seeing people from all walks of life and parts of the city bringing their donations and coming together. It's really cool. It's really nice. Fundraising
events coordinator Hannah Day is new to the team, and with this being her first Octagon, she says they've changed the event ever so slightly.
Yeah, so we're doing a street appeal on the same day, which I think is kind of new. It's happened in other years. And we're also doing online donations, so people can donate with money at octagon.org.nz, and that's gone really well as well, getting some monetary donations through there.
Warren Rosser says the Family Works team, who are at the coalface of helping individuals, say people from all walks of life are needing help.
It just takes, if you're living week to week in terms of your paycheck, it just takes one big item to have an impact. So you have a big car bill or a medical bill or something else unexpected, you have a job change. It just takes one big item like that to really impact on your weekly costs and to mean that you're having to find a way to stretch things further.
He says people shouldn't feel any sense of shame for having to call on their services. Many people and organisations make the annual pilgrimage to donate, including this group from NZI Life.
Oh, we actually just love doing this, so it's a
makes you
small
feel good.
thing.
A small thing that we can all do to help out other people.
You don't have to spend a fortune to bring a few cans down, so everyone should be doing it really. Yeah.
Cans are sorted into different groups to make it easier for staff to organise storage, a crucial part of the process as they hand out 10,000 food items per month. In Dunedin, the South Today.
A man accused of stabbing miniature horse staff 41 times has been granted name suppression. The 49-year-old appeared in the Dunedin District Court this week, accused of willfully ill-treating an animal causing its death. The alleged attack is thought to have happened about midnight on February the 18th in a Waitati paddock while the horse was tethered to a fence. The 10-year-old horse died the following night. Star's owner, Mandy Mayhem-Bollock, says her family and community are relieved an arrest has been made after what has been 4 months since the killing. The defendant is set to reappear early next month. The charge carries a maximum penalty of 5 years imprisonment or a $100,000 fine. The eerie silence of a pretend crash site was broken by victim screams and emergency response sirens arriving on scene in Queenstown this week. While the scenario was fictional, the realistic and gruesome crash simulation showed school pupils the real consequences of poor driving.
2 pupils seriously injured and another dead after a horror car crash. Yesterday's reenactment in front of 200 Wakatipu High School pupils included the jaws of life for extracting the victims from the vehicles. Local paramedic Chris Marr regularly attends real car crashes and says the Year 13 drama pupils have been excellent as acting as crash victims, helping give young drivers a wake-up call.
The guys that we use inside the car are all from the drama school, so they're really good at doing it. We've had some very convincing people as injured parties. So it's just that, for want of a better word, scare tactic, that this is what could happen if you don't watch what you're doing.
This year's horror smash included actor Annie Black, who was actually a cautious driver after seeing last year's crash simulation.
My friends were in the practice last year, and it was quite sobering to watch them, and I got quite upset because they were my friends and they're really good actors.
Organisers believe the training exercise can actually help reduce the road toll.
We all know the statistics of deaths on our roads is really, really high, and we want to change that, and we believe we can change that through more information and a day like today.
Ma says safe driving is the responsibility of all motorists.
A lot of people complain that it's the tourists. It's not, it's everybody. Everybody's in such a rush these days. They're wanting to get from A to B as quickly as possible, and a little bit of distraction, just not quite watching the surroundings. You can lead to some very bad crashes around here, definitely, including fatalities.
The event also included a talk from a crash victim with permanent injuries, an A&E nurse, and a young man talking about the impact of his drink driving conviction. In Queenstown, for the South Today.
Still to come on this edition of Southern Newsweek, 400 Little Rippers tore up Forsyth Bar Stadium at a recent tournament, and Wanaka residents have the opportunity to be prepared for an earthquake. So see you after the break. Welcome back. Schools from across Greater Dunedin converged on Forsyth Bar Stadium for the annual Metropolitan Ripper Rugby Tournament recently. It's one of a series of events around the country, with the regional winners heading to the national finals in Wellington later this year.
Ripping their way to glory, with 400 kids from 40 schools taking part in the annual Dunedin Metropolitan Ripper Rugby Tournament. Otago Rugby runs the event, which is one of several being held around the province.
It's the metro version of the tournament. We've got a tournament based in southern, the Basin region, and up in the Maniatoto as well. So this is just one of the four-part series that we've got, and it's an awesome day out.
Tournament director Clinton Austin says the competition begins with the very young, going up to some kids who've already crossed over into the full contact version of the sport.
You know, the young fellas starting early, young males and females out there, and it's just an opportunity to get out there, play the game and experience it. And it's a pretty friendly tournament as well, nothing too serious, so teams just to get out there, play a lot of footy and have some fun.
Austin says there's a new version of Ripper aimed at older children who may not want to be in full contact rugby.
Quick Rip, which is going out there, and secondary schools are getting involved in that as well. So I guess that's the progression forward from Ripper Rugby into Quick Rip, which is more probably aligned with the rugby rules. There's line outs and little bits and pieces like that, but still very similar with just the Ripper tags and whatnot.
Lee Jones coaches the Fairfield Bulldogs and says it's a great day of friendly competition with a bit of well-organised chaos and a lot of fun.
They're here having fun, they've been together, they're perhaps playing with people that they don't normally play with at school, and they're meeting all these other great people out here. So for me it means a chance for the kids to have fun.
Halfway through the competition, Fairfield were 3 wins from 3 matches. Some of these kids are as young as 6 or 7 years old, with some hoping to emulate their footy heroes when they get a bit older.
I like how it can be any players, like boys or girls, so then you can mix them up to have one sport that you all like. I like Waisaki Naholo and Ben Smith, they're real originals.
What do you like about tackle that you didn't get from Ripper?
Getting kicked in the face and being able to defend. Well, I went to Australia and now I want to play for the Wallaroos. Basically everyone in my family played rugby, so I decided to.
For many, the day's all about the competition, but for others it's all about cheering their classmates on and having pride in their school. The top 3 or 4 teams from each grade go to the Otago Wide event next month. Then the winner of the Year 5 and 6 grade heads to Wellington to take on the other regional winners for the national title later this year. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Feeling more secure when an earthquake hits is the aim of a free course in Wanaka. The course has been run by local survival and preparedness specialist Ben Logan.
Ben Logan's ute, all set up with the gear needed to survive the big one, if and when it hits. This Sunday sees him putting on a free course in Wanaka on how to be better prepared for a natural disaster such as a major earthquake.
We have a strong belief of sort of building a strong, resilient community that can handle and be prepared against adversity, which we may face sometime in the future with the earthquake risk we have here.
He says one of the biggest hurdles after a disaster is mental stress, which is one of the major topics they'll be covering.
So one of the biggest ones is actually the psychology of survival, the psychology of leading into an earthquake, the mental mindset strategies, priorities in an earthquake situation.
And while we haven't experienced a major earthquake on the Alpine fault line in modern times, he says it would have a major impact on the area.
Considering our geographic remoteness, if that makes sense, will be somewhat stuffed. So I think having the ability to have the skills, the mindsets, and also gear distributed in a practical way is very, very key for us.
Logan says the Canterbury earthquakes show that an earthquake preparedness kit at home is not enough. Instead, it's good to have a smaller kit in your car and even carry a multi-tool and a small torch in your regular jacket.
So the Christchurch one, Christchurch earthquake, we can take a lot of good knowledge and science from. There's a lot of photos and videos of people being stuck in the workplace in the city and trying to get home in a pair of high heels, which obviously wasn't going to happen.
Logan's earthquake survival course is set for this Sunday at Criffle Station Woolshed in Wanaka. In Wanaka, for the South Today.
Otago University's Faculty of Dentistry is helping young sports people protect their pearly whites by donating 150 mouthguards to schools around New Zealand. Custom-fitted mouthguards are being sent to many high schools around the country, from Rotorua in the north to Balclutha in the south.
Protecting precious smiles. Kaikorai Valley College's top basketball team among the first students around the country to receive free custom-fitted mouthguards from Otago University.
It's really comfortable and it fits perfectly and it won't fall out.
It feels real good, yeah. It's a bit awkward, but yeah. I'll hardly get used to it.
Sports coordinator Teresa Johnson says the school selected its boys' Senior A basketball team to receive the mouthguards for a couple of reasons.
Basketball New Zealand has now made it compulsory for all children up to, I think, the age of 18 to wear mouthguards in playing basketball games.
Otago's dentistry department coordinated the program as part of its 150th year celebrations. Oral biology lecturer Dr. Carolina Locke says the mouthguards are worth around $150 each, and the whole scheme is costing around $22,000.
We sent information on why to use and why it's important to use mouthguards to all high schools throughout the country, and we established a video competition on the importance of wearing mouthguards. So the winners of those videos, plus a few schools that were nominated by our schools liaison office, were approached, and the sports teams won 15 to up to 30 custom-fitted mouthguards.
Moulds are taken of the pupils' mouths, then the mouthguards are created in the tech lab at the dental school. Locke says a high percentage of sports injuries are dental or oral related.
About 40% of all injuries in sports are dental related. And as you know, it can be very expensive to fix those later on. Mouthguards, they protect your teeth, they protect your jaws as well. They also reduce the chances of concussion if you're wearing one.
A basketball player herself, Johnson says the custom-fitted mouthguards are so much better than the boil and bite ones.
They generally have the over-the-counter ones, and if they don't mould them properly, they drop out. They can't speak with them, and they probably don't look after them as well either.
Johnson says over-the-counter mouthguards cost the school a substantial amount of money, and the pupils who receive these custom-fitted ones know they've got to take personal responsibility for them. In Dunedin, the South Today.
After the break on this edition of Southern News Week, skydivers drop into Book Week for pupils in Tynwald, and a careers day in Rangiora is deemed a success, so stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Book Week at Tynwald School in Ashburton got off to a spectacular start this week with parachutists dropping out of the sky. 2 members of skydiving Kiwis dropped into school to the cheers of the students.
Waiting for visitors to drop down from the skies, Tynwald School pupils get ready for the arrival of 2 skydiving daredevils.
So this week we've got a range of activities, and we're starting off with something quite different. We've got Ollie and Lee from Skydiving Kiwis. They're going to jump in to the school in about the next 10-15 minutes.
With smoke flares to guide the parachutists to their landing site, Lee Barraclough and Ollie Bergen of Skydiving Kiwis dodged rugby posts and power lines to make a perfect landing and kick-starting Book Week for the Ashburton school.
Ollie's then going to at some point read to our children and help us kick off Book Week here at Tynwald School.
The children were then entertained by hearing the daring duo talk about skydiving.
Do you guys want to go jump out of an airplane with us?
Yeah! As well as being read some pages from Dr. Seuss.
Congratulations. Today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes.
A host of people will read to Ashburton children this week, including Mayor Donna Favell and radio personality Phil Hooper. In Ashburton, for the South Today.
North Canterbury's first Careers Expo has been declared a success. Around 75 stallholders from businesses, government and educational institutes promoted their career paths to eager youngsters at Rangiora High School.
The world's their oyster, with many paths to choose from. Rangiora High School hosted a career expo this month with hundreds of North Canterbury students and job seekers checking out their options. Rangiora High School acting principal Paul Donnelly says the goal of the day is pretty simple.
This is an opportunity for families to come together to see what North Canterbury has to offer in terms of careers, and there's a great variety of careers and options for students.
The Expo is a collaboration between the school, the Ministry of Social Development and the Ministry of Education, along with input from local government. Waimakariri District Council Youth Development Facilitator Sam Redman says the event is extremely important to support young people in making informed career choices in an uncertain environment with changing technology.
Yeah, there's a really cool vibe. Around here, lots of people, lots of parents and families all coming down. It's really cool to see so many people from across our district kind of coming together for such a good event.
Deputy Principal Alison Cleary says in the past North Canterbury pupils have attended the annual Careers Expo in Christchurch but tended to spend more time on the bus, so not getting the full benefit of their time.
You know, it's about time we did something out here to send students into the Careers Expo in town. You know, they 45 minutes on a bus, 45 minutes home, they come back after 45 minutes of maybe walking around. Here, they've got their whānau and parents with them, and that's the most important thing, I think. Yep.
Planning for the event began earlier this year after around 200 young people turned up to enrol at the Rangiora Work and Income Office with little idea of what they wanted to do with their lives.
And as we do know, the statistics tells us that 18 to 24, 23-year-olds, young people, though, that wonderful potential that they have has not been explored, and there was a kind of like a call or a need to help those young people see, okay, this is what you can offer, what are you interested in, what can you offer to this community in North Canterbury.
Organisers say the inaugural event was very well attended, providing a beacon of hope for Rangiora Rangatahi. In North Canterbury, the South Today.
A Dunedin family is warning others to stay vigilant after a large ornate angel went missing from an almost century-old family headstone in the Andersons Bay Cemetery. And while they aren't expecting to see the angel again, they're hoping the same fate doesn't befall others.
The last time Deirdre Cooper saw the angel on the headstone of the grave of her great-great-grandmother was back on Anzac Day in April, but just 2 weeks ago she noticed the old family headstone in the Andersons Bay Cemetery was missing.
Well, we drove past the gravesite. We were having a bit of cleaning done on the marble itself, and to discover that we couldn't actually find it initially because the angel had been taken, and so that was the first time we really knew that anything was wrong.
She suspects someone has stolen the near 100-year-old angel with the intention of selling it.
Look, we think 2 or 3 people it would have taken and a vehicle to move it, so we're talking about it happening during the daytime because the gates of the cemetery would have been shut.
Mrs McCullough was a housekeeper from Naseby who died in 1924 at the age of 53. Her sister and brother-in-law are buried in the same grave. A report's been lodged with police, but the lack of video footage or other evidence is making it difficult to know what happened.
And very quickly we heard back and they said really there's nothing we can do. So sadly we thought, well, the next best thing is just to get the word out there and get some people looking and also aware that, you know, it's happening in cemeteries.
She's not expecting the angel to be returned, but is keen to alert people to be vigilant in cemeteries.
And if anyone saw it while they were out walking or whatever, we'd be absolutely thrilled to get it back. But, you know, obviously the reality is possibly it's just really alerting the community to the fact that it's happened.
Police say inquiries are continuing in Dunedin, the South Today.
A Dunedin bartender and waitress has been spending her nights literally playing with fire. Lauren Dance has been performing as a fire spinner since last November, and now she's passing her skills on to others.
Tossing, twirling, jumping and spinning with flaming poi, wands and ropes. Members of the Dunedin Fire and Circus Club practising fire spinning. Local bartender Lauren Dance has learned a lot about creating a visual performance with fire since she started a little over 6 months ago.
I only started in November. I picked it up really fast when I followed these guys when they did a tour around the country in the Wandering Circus tour, and I just learnt everything from them pretty much. I started with dragon stuff and now I just do fire eating mostly.
She says fire can lend itself to a number of visual shows.
You can do little tricks like usually it goes out.
She says fire spinning is not a dangerous activity, using a special fuel which is safer than kerosene, and burning at a low temperature so it can be used on skin or in the mouth, but shouldn't be swallowed.
Every time we perform or we do any fire, we have a safety kit, so we've got extinguishers, fire safety blankets, and always somebody there to watch whoever's playing with fire.
There are 11 fire spinning clubs around the country, with Dunedin's 80-strong Fire and Circus Club being the largest. Meeting every Wednesday night at the university's Clubs and Socks building, they're attracting more than just students.
Whereas the club's more like the university kids, and we also have like a wide range of people too. We have some older people that come into club and younger people too.
Members of the club are busy on winter nights, practising for festivals such as the recent Fire and Steam Winter Festival in Oamaru, and now they're getting ready for this coming weekend's Dunedin Midwinter Carnival. In Dunedin, for the South Today.
That wraps up this edition of Southern Newsweek. For the latest news from the Southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and check us out on Facebook and YouTube. Have a lovely evening. Ka kite anō.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.